Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is Austin here with some more StarCraft 2 commentary action, and this is going to be episode 5 of my commentation. Wow, episode 5 already. It has not felt like very long. So today I will be presenting you yet another one of my 1v1s. This is the third in a row. Why, you may ask? I don't have any replays from Hesperod. He's been quite busy lately, and of course I have not had any sent to me, so please do check that email address in the comments, in the description, sorry, and send any replay you find interesting to me. I would much appreciate commentating on it. And so this one's going to be a PvP, a quite volatile matchup, as may be widely known. Myself, Austin here, is going to spawn at the top left of Metalopolis, and at the bottom right is going to be Hollywood, so it's a cross spawn. And just a minute, I'm going to check my sound. Okay, 50% seems good. I just don't want the sound to overrule my voice, but I don't want my voice to too greatly overrule the sound. And so both of us, of course, going with traditional play. And by the way, sorry for the that is unconventional in commentary. I would like for anybody, if you are to comment, to present me with a suggestion for a name for my shows, my commentaries, as I find it quite bland to just say it's StarCraft 2 commentary. You know, a unique name. I'm not great in the literary creativity department. Well, I do enjoy writing, but I mean in the form of coming up with unique and symbolic names. And so it may be a little bit choppy here. I do apologize, but this is a result of my uploading episode 3 to YouTube as we speak, so this is episode 5. I like to have spaced out uploads, as I did mention previously, and so if I were to cheese my opponent, perhaps that probe coming out could have been setting the stage for a cannon rush fail, as I believe has been posted on YouTube in the past. And so just the scouts going out, both of us coming out, both of us producing our gateways. I am sorry, it is quite late. I'm tired after a long day, and I'm a little choppy with my vocabulary. I hope this will improve as the replay does progress. And so I get my gas. I'm going for just the traditional roll up. My opponent gets the cybernetics faster, actually, but as I said, my traditional PvP strategy is 3-gate robo, and PvT as well. PvZ, it is Charge of an Archon. And so now, as I may have mentioned in episode 3, which I'm currently uploading, or no, I think it was episode 4, so you may not, yeah, you would have already seen that. I'm starting to work on patrolling my units, well, shift moving them. So I pressed BY and then shift back to the mineral line. I'm sure this is quite weeboid to you guys, but to me it is new. Sorry, I switched tabs there, so I'm just gonna stay on production. I remain 5 ahead of my opponent in production. He's getting the second gas and now a Stargate, so we could look for a quick mass void ray, which I do find quite annoying, or Phoenix harasses with a graviton beam there, or perhaps a plethora of other strategies such as quick carriers. That is not quite a strategy. I just wanted to use the word plethora. Pardon me. My opponent's another pylon landing here, so we can expect some void rays coming out. Perhaps just a quick 2 void ray, 3 void ray harass. I am fully aware of the outcome of this game and all of its events, but I try to keep it a commentary, not a play-by-play. So I will reveal to you a minimal level of what goes on until it starts to go on. And here's my 2 other gateways, so I'm going tradition, as can be quite visually evidenced, the 3 gates. And my opponent getting a pylon, another pylon, just several pylons to spread out the power supply in his base. And here's my forge. Surprised I did not get the robo actually first, but I think since I have a friend of mine who likes to do quick zealots, I like to get a forge up so that if I have some units guarding here, like a sentry to put a force field up, I'll have upgraded units to hold down the fort. And so my opponent getting his first void ray, about half built now, and no upgrades or anything of the sort, no tech, 1 gate, no warp gates being researched, and so he's just gonna get that quick void ray. And there is my robo being plotted out by the probe that is meant to place it. Just several zealots streaming out of my gateways, and here's the warp gate research, as I may have mentioned a few replays ago. So agonizingly slow for us Protoss players, and that is working hard in finishing, and I'll chrono boost that. And another void ray being produced by my opponent. There's ground weapons level 1 coming out of my forge. And so essentially the aim of PvP is just do anything you can to win. You know, other matchups can be a little more conventional. You know, TVZs, the Terran needs to try to keep up with the Zergan economy while still holding on to their base from early pressure. I do apologize for the lag. As I said, it is probably from that video. And so PvZ is just a matter of, usually you see that fast expand, and if it's a matter of if the Protoss can hold off the fast expand with the Forge and proxy cannons at his own base. And there are several codes and conventions for other matchups, but as you may know, thanks to the words of other commentators, PvZ is quite PvP. My apologies, is quite liquid, and so I do not have a lot of difficulty with PvZ. PvP, I apologize, PvZ just getting too confusing, and so I do not have any specific troubles with it, but there are several strategies that do frustrate me. So here's my opponent sending 2 Void Rays out, perhaps for a 2 Void Ray harass, as I get a 4th gate, and my Warp Gate tech does finish, and here's ground weapons level 1 just about complete. And so here's these 2 Void Rays. They have no upgrades as of yet, and none being researched, a 3rd being produced, and another Stargate. Is that 3 or 2? That is 2 Stargates now for Hollywood. I believe I did introduce him, yes, and I do not use my opponent's name very often, neither do I use mine. I just say my opponent and myself, or you generally, if it is a third-person perspective matchup where it was Hesperide, I would say both players' names. Anyway, I just have a mass of stalkers, one sentry as I usually like to do, just the 1 sentry, and my natural is out, as is my opponent, so both of us just going for this general eco play, except my opponent has several Void Rays, he has no Warp Gates, so we can expect just a mass Void Ray, which does frustrate me. I saw this on my observer vision. How far did I see it? Oh, sorry, wrong vision. How far did I see it? I saw the whole shebang. I see actively both Stargates and the 1 non-warp gated gateway. And so this frustrated me. I do not like mass Void Rays. I find it is cheesy. Not necessarily cheesy, because it's not cheap. It is a convention. No, it is not necessarily a conventional strategy, but it is a strategy to get out of Bronze League. Essentially, it will work, but it does not work in macro play. So immediately I go for the 2 Stargate, realizing that my opponent just does not expect this. He expects to just find me to be just some Silver League prey for him to mass Void Ray on. I immediately send out 4 Zealots just to put on pressure, because I know they will be hopeless against my opponent's Void Rays. So one of them immediately taken down, but he's still going to go for the push. I have this Observer following one of them, as I constantly have spoken about and done in past games. So I just get this 3 Zealot pressure just to force my opponent's pullback. I see this just in time for me to make some Stalkers just to be at the edge of my base, and begin making some Phoenixes to counter those Void Rays. And so at this point, my opponent is not necessarily in rough shape. I have 2 Zealots remaining. They're able to take down that pylon, which will briefly supply block him. That is the reasoning behind why I did that, just to briefly supply block my opponent. This last Zealot falling to the Void Ray pressure, and so he has 5 Void Rays, a genuine cause for concern, but he is pylon blocked, and so I have 1 Phoenix out and just a ball of 7 upgraded Stalkers. No further upgrades. I'm surprised I did not get those. So these Phoenixes can easily counter Void Rays with Graviton Beam and such, and Stalkers are anti-air. So I have this Observer Vision just following my opponent's... Oh, no longer, sorry, but I did have the Observer following him all along the way, so I knew a push was imminent, and so I was just waiting any minute. I was waiting, you know, the any minute now, saying... just for that mineral pressure, and I had no Zealots left, as I had put the 4 I had on my opponent. I just had 1 Needless Immortal, so my Robo was kind of sitting, doing very little. 3 pylons being produced for me to not be supply block, as my opponent still is. He has 6 pylons landing, and so my opponent goes immediately for Warp Gates. The Warp Gates. I have 4 of them. I find this to be quite unintelligent, as this warp Gate is quite useless at this point. I have my multi-star gate, and so this is quite easy for me to hold. I'm able to just get the mass Stalkers on my opponent's Void Ray. And what do I come out with? 112. No, I believe, yes, 112 permanent damage to my 1 Warp Gate. So to me, that is nothing. My opponent is still producing out of 2 Stargates, and at this point, I'm going for a Warp Prism and Protoss Air Weapons level 1. Having been researched for quite a while, I have multiple Phoenixes streaming out of my Stargates, and so at this point, I already have an advantage. My opponent getting 2 Robos and a Gateway, so he immediately realizes, in a panic state, obviously, that his solution to my strategy would be probably Immortals or Colossi or something of the sort. I'm not sure why he would actually get these 2 robos, though. Perhaps Observers to get Vision, but why 2? I don't see why he would need a War Prism. So this does not seem sensible to me. Mortals cannot attack air. Well, I'm not sure. Do they qualify as massive? Where is that one lone immortal of mine? Perhaps I could look here. Not sure. Actually, I'd have to research that. I do not think they would qualify as massive. There is a chance, but Immortals would have to. I may have sent it off. Yes, I am. So it is armored mechanical. It is not massive. So perhaps he's trying to graviton. He's expecting, Mortals can be graviton beamed by Phoenixes, so I see not why he would do such a strategy against my Phoenix Stalker. And so I just have this ball of Stalkers coming out, and what does my opponent have at this point? He just has some 6 Void Rays, extremely expensive, great against massive, but, well, armored, but at this point, the amount of Phoenixes I have, and the amount of Stalkers I have warping in actively, it just proves too great for my opponent, and so he's gonna go for perhaps this push. I have 2 Phoenixes streaming out of my base, and 2 more being produced. So these Void Rays are just trying to make up for that pressure that he did not put on a 1 worker killed, and I think that was a scout, and 9 units killed. So I have Protoss Shields level 1 coming out because I figured this would be a nice upgrade for both my ground and air forces. And so immediately I push on my opponent's base, realizing it's futile if he's able to eradicate this building. Does he? Yes, he does. He's able to take out 1 of my gates, but at this point, he has 2 Immortals, so he was going for the Immortals, I guess as a counter for Stalkers, but I still don't understand why he'd have 2, so I Graviton beam up 1 of his Stalkers and then the other, and those are quickly dealt with. And then all of a sudden, I have just a mass of critical mass of Stalkers entering his base, and just some Phoenixes. I see the Void Rays coming in, and these Phoenixes immediately are just... No, they're not immediately. I had a blink research from my Twilight Council, so these Phoenixes are just going to be sent out to deal with those Void Rays, which they do ever so efficiently. 3 more coming in to rescue their nearly fallen allies. 1 of them will fall. Will his brethren stand and remember him? Yes, he will. So his brethren will stand. Hollywood does GG, and so he leaves the game, and at this point, that is the end, essentially. And so, I'm not sure if, yes, I do eventually leave. So, in retrospect on this matchup, what could have been done differently from both of our perspectives? From my perspective, I did play a solid game. It was, I brought it to you because it wasn't essentially the best matchup, wasn't the longest game, wasn't a macro game, wasn't a neat game with harassment or anything. In the end, there was just a minimal amount of workers killed. They have 4 for me, I guess, just on that mineral line, and then 22 units killed. And so, my main, I don't really call it a problem. I do not like massing units. There's a counter to every unit, and so if you're able to just find counters to the unit your opponent's massing, if you're able to spot it early enough with that key observer vision as a Protoss player, it is quite easy to counter. Had I not seen it, I probably would have gone for the Immortal Colossi, Zealot, the mixed Protoss ball, Immortal Colossi, Zealot, Stalker, and Sentry, which could have been quite easily taken down by a lot of Void Rays. But I spotted it early enough, and the mass Void Ray strategy does have a weak point when your opponent's just getting the first couple Void Rays. I had a nice economy. I was able to get just a light harass with 4 Zealots to take out that pylon, and left him pylon blocked for, I think it was 2 minutes, 3 minutes. So when your opponent's just ready to go for that mineral harass and their pylon blocked, they can't get any Void Ray support. They have to focus on a bunch of pylons. He did end up getting 6. And so I won the game entirely thanks to just my perception of his strategy. Mass Void Ray does work quite efficiently if your opponent does not spot it. But in the end, I was able to. I got the double Stargate with so many Phoenixes. And I think my opponent's harass, had it been more efficient, could have changed the game. As I said, this being the only scar, the single scar of that battle. Not even 1 worker killed from my opponent. So when you're going for a mass Void Ray strategy, you do not press attack move. You focus on probes. I have just this entire almost page of probes. 3, 6, 8, 16, 21 probes. 19, what am I? An awful counter. 19 probes that are just vulnerable to that Void Ray pressure. They could have focused on even before I pulled them off. My units were not present. Well, they were at my natural, but still, he would have been able to pick off some of them. I had no base defenses, so he could have pulled out as soon as my Stalkers appeared. And so I got the double Stargate just as the Phoenix counter, which worked quite well. I was able to Graviton beam up the Stalkers. And I felt that what did Hollywood do correctly? He was able to get the Mass Void Ray quite quickly and efficiently. He got his natural around the same time as me, and was able to just balance out workers, etc. He only my main problems with his build being he sat on 2 Stargates, so he did not build a 3rd or 4th Stargate, which is key in battles like this. You need a good structure score, and so 4 Stargates could have had double the production, and I felt he didn't use the Stargate to harass enough. You have, you know, if you have 6 Phoenixes, 5 Phoenixes, that's an excellent and eco-efficient, eco as in economy, not environment, efficient build where you can fly over, Graviton beam up like 3 probes, pick them off with the other 3 Phoenixes, and then you've got 3 probes killed, etc. Yet he was just going for Mass Void Rays, and so I felt that he did not stick with the build well enough. Once you see this, your opponent getting Phoenixes and such, you don't want to go into a Robo facility, because there's nothing from that Robo facility that can counter Phoenix Stalker. Literally nothing. The Immortals can take out the Stalkers, but Phoenixes will immediately, if I see a couple Phoenixes at the back of my opponent's army, I'll just Graviton beam them up with my Phoenix and then eradicate them. So I would be in quite good standing for that. And so ultimately that is all I have to say upon this matter. My opponent just should have worked more on his structure score and robotics and his transitions. Don't get another gateway, not even a warp gate and robo facility that late in the game when you do realize your opponent has the counter to your strategy. Just stick with your strategy. Had he had enough Void Rays, he could have held off some of my pressure and been able to put some, so let's say he had 11 Void Rays, he might have been able to put some pressure on my mineral line. With that 11, I would have been forced back. And so ultimately that is a conclusion to my episode 5. I will hopefully try to find a little longer macro game, something of the sort, for the next replay, or perhaps somebody will generously send it in, which will be much appreciated. Thank you very much for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you